Hello friends, today we learn the characteristics table and excitation table of T flip-flop. So first of all, how to make the T flip-flop. T flip-flop is made by the JK flip-flop. In the JK flip-flop, if input is J and K, both are short and provide one input T. So T is equal to either 0, either 1. If T input is 0, then J is equal to 0 and K is equal to 0. If T input is 1, then J is equal to 1 and K is equal to 1. So the truth table of T flip-flop is, in the T flip-flop, if clock is 0 and T is become the don't care, means 0 and 1, so output is become the Q of n, that means previous value. If clock is become the 1 and T is become the 0, so T is become the 0, so output of T flip-flop is Q of n, that means memory. Then Q of n means previous value, so in the T flip-flop, the input is 0, so output is become the Q of n. In the T flip-flop, if input is 1, then output is become the toggle. Toggle means complementary. So output is become the Q of n bar, that means complementary output. This is the truth table of the T flip-flop. Now next we see the characteristics table of the T flip-flop. In the T flip-flop, if Q of n, this is called the previous state, and Q of n plus 1, this means next state. If Q of n is equal to 0 and T is equal to 0. If T is equal to 0, so according to the truth tables, if T equals to 0, according to the truth table, T is equal to 0, so output is become the Q of n. So here T is equal to 0, so output is Q of n. Here Q of n is become the 0, so Q of n plus become the 0. If T is equal to 1, so according to the truth table, output is become the complementary. So output is T is equal to 1. If input T is equal to 1, then output is become the Q of n bar. Here Q of n is become the Q of n is equal to 0. So Q of n bar is equal to 0 to become the 1. If T is equal to 0, then output is another time Q of n. So Q of n is equal to 1. So output is become the 1. If T is equal to 1, then output of T is equal to 1. The output of T is equal to, if T is equal to 1, then output of T is equal to complementary of Q of n. So here Q of n is equal to 1. So complementary of Q of n 1, complementary of Q of n 1 is equal to 0. So this is the characteristics table of T flip-flop. After that we see the most important table of excitation table. In the excitation table, here we getting the two value Q of n and Q of n plus 1. If Q of n is 0 and Q of n plus 1 is 0. If Q of n is 0 and Q of n plus 1 0. So what is the value of the T? So your value of the T is 0. So output of this T is become the 0. If Q of n is 0, if Q of n plus 1 is 1. Q of n is 0 and Q of n plus 1 is 1. So what is the value of the T? T is equal to 1. So here T is equal to 1. If Q of n is 1 and Q of n plus 1 is 0. Q of n is 1, Q of n is 1 and Q of n plus 1 is 0. This condition. So in this condition, T is equal to become the 1. So here become the 1. If Q of n is equal to 1 and Q of n plus 1 is equal to 1. So Q of n is equal to 1, Q of n plus 1 is equal to 1. In this condition, output of T is become the 0. So T is become the 0. This is the truth excitation table of T flip-flop. So must be remember the truth table of T flip-flop. So we make in the excitation table and characteristics table of T flip-flop. Thank you so much for watching this video.